I valued the friendship more than I valued myself, and I was abandoning myself. I didn't really grow up in a household that, clear, honest communication was priority. It was either you're quiet and ignoring someone, being passive aggressive, or you're yelling and fighting verbally, physically. It was just a lot. Welcome back. It's your girl Lils. And in this conversation, I want to talk about learning how to heal my relationships. And you may be thinking with people, which understandable, but I am talking about my relationships with, yes, people like myself, others, but also my relationship with money, my relationship with God, my relationship with even religion and the concepts of religion, and really just take a deep dive into the different aspects of our life, how they've impacted me and how I show up in these different relationships, but also identifying what it is I'm struggling with the most. I have found that becoming self-aware can almost be a double-edged sword, because one, you start unlocking and purging out things that maybe you've held back or suppressed or were too afraid to say or didn't even know existed, right? Whether you're doing therapy, coaching, counseling, journaling, praying, however whatever your outlet is or outlets, it can be very exhausting, because once you identify certain things about yourself, then you start to replay the moments when you were in that state of mind or when you were behaving that way. So the exhausting part comes in with, I'm so mindful now of my avoidant self-saboteur, that I almost overcompensate when I'm in the real world and around people, where I can be very extreme, and I mentioned in my previous vlog that I'm learning how to be comfortable in the gray areas, because one, I'm the eldest child, and not to make any excuses, but just a little bit more detail about myself. Eldest, Aries, young parent, immigrant dad, you know what I mean? It's just like, I had a lot of things going on in my life growing up, and I grew up very shy, very anxious, and I didn't really grow up in a household that, clear, honest communication was priority. It was either you're quiet and ignoring someone, being passive aggressive, or you're yelling and fighting verbally, physically. It was just a lot. I realized as I got older, because I was so shy and because I was so anxious all the time, I was a very anxious child, and I didn't really talk much. I didn't know how to express myself, that those traits and those habits carried into my actual life. And it's interesting also that I realized that the traits that I did love about myself, for instance, what I learned growing up at a very young age is like, if something bothers me, I would prefer to sleep on it and confront it the next day when I'm not so wrapped up and emotional about it. So I did that one time. I was maybe in my mid-20s, and it's interesting because it wasn't even directly involving me, but it was something that really did bother me. And I was like, well, let me just sleep on it to make sure that I'm not tripping or that I'm not overthinking this situation, right? So the next day, my only mistake was the timing. And that's something I'm still working on to this day, is time and place for everything. And I said it at a nightclub. And I realized, I was at work. I didn't have time to say it at work. After work, I probably should have brought it up then. But anyway, I said something like, this bothered me last night, and I was really mad that you did this. But I slept on it, and I thought about it, and I just wanted to bring it up. And then the person that I said this to, she went off on me. She was saying things like it should have been brought up to me on the spot. And if I told you guys what was happening on the spot, you would realize this is not the most appropriate time for that type of conversation. Let's just say there was a lot of alcohol involved. And I was like, but I'm bringing it up now. Like, and I brought it up in like a mature adult way. But then I realized, maybe the location, because we're at another club the next day, was probably not the best. And after getting yelled at and, being someone that grew up in a household where there was a lot of yelling, I first yelled back. I didn't give up. Aries. We just argued the whole time. And then I was just like, this doesn't make any sense. I thought about it. I slept on it. I'm not harboring any ill feelings. I'm confronting it in a manner that I feel like is mature. And I've actually never talked about this, but this is the first time I'm ever telling bits of this story. But that moment, that night, really messed me up, because that took away that bravery to handle things in a mature way. Because I wanted to keep that friendship. I wanted to keep that dynamic going. I wanted to keep the party going. I was young and very sheltered growing up. So having friends that loved to have fun and that were funny and smart and, establishing their careers like myself, I thought we're good to go. I was like, okay, well, I can't do that with this specific person anymore. And it just made me think twice about how I would confront things, to the point where I just didn't. I'm laughing because I'm looking back at, being self-aware and now having held in so much. I think it really just bit me in the behind and erupted over the years, because I don't think I valued myself at all. Because I was like, oh, I value the friendship more than, now looking back in hindsight, I valued the friendship more than I valued myself. And I was abandoning myself and my feelings and my hurt feelings or my angry feelings, just to keep the peace, to not get yelled at. And I think that's something that I did a lot growing up as well, and that obviously carried into my adulthood, even to now at 40. And that was something that happened in my early 20s. So, or maybe late 20s, but regardless, you get the idea. That was over a decade ago, and it's still impacting me to this day. So looking back and learning how to repair my relationships, a lot of it has to do with communication. And I'm having to relearn how to communicate at 40 years old, because I held so much in, because I wanted to protect the peace, because I wanted everyone to just be happy and to not fight or argue. That in the last couple of years, when I would start to fight back, they would get so mad at me. Because I would say at that point, almost a decade, I never fought back. I never questioned anyone. I was just quiet. And maybe on certain occasions when I was drunk, things would slip out and I would almost like be my real self in a sense. But usually if I was sober or busy with work or traveling with them or whatnot, for the most part, I was very composed. I was very just to myself, still my fun, vibrant self, but after a while, it just got stale, and even leading up to quitting my 9 to 5, I started reading different self-help books. I started watching different content, consuming podcasts. The thought of sobriety even crossed my mind. And I was sober for a whole year, which I'll talk about in a different vlog. And as of today, I'm officially 30 plus days sober. And I've decided that in order for me to fully repair my relationships, first with myself and God, and then others, I need to take care of me. I need to rediscover who I am, find myself in this busy world of distractions and people pleasing. A lot of feelings have been hurt lately, mine included, but I know this is all a part of the plan. And I'm fully trusting in God's plan. I'm fully trusting in this whole process of relearning myself, learning even how to trust myself, because that's something I just didn't do. And I valued keeping the peace, keeping things calm, allowing other people to just have their way instead of me fighting for myself, because I didn't want to be abandoned or I didn't want to be dumped. You know what I mean? So I'm relearning how to heal my relationships, and it starts with me seeking God, me relearning myself, likes, dislikes, loves, hates, and as well as sobriety. The longest I've ever been sober was a whole year and a few days. And me drinking again was a complete accident that ended up, it resulted in me drinking again for another 2019 to 2024. So a solid five or 6 years. Yeah. And I saw myself just ruining my life. And now being sober for 30 plus days and choosing to be sober, not because anyone told me to or because of, well, yes, because of some certain instances, but I've been questioning if I should be sober again this past year. And I thought maybe I think God was telling me I needed to be sober starting at the age of 40, but I compromised and I was like, well, I'll start after all of my friends turn 40, because this is the year we all turn 40. And 2024 was the year we all turned 40, because I knew, I was like, we're going to be traveling. There's going to be a lot of parties, dinners, so I compromised with God instead of just committing to God's plan, something I won't ever do ever again. I'm not going to compromise whatever God has in store for me. I'm going to listen because clearly the way, doing things my way has not worked. But after a certain incident or incidents towards the end of the year, it was confirmation that I'm done drinking, not just for 6 months or 30 days or a year. I'm done for life. And I want to hold myself to that. I'm still going through the motions. It's still one day at a time. I wasn't the type to drink every day, but when I did drink, I was binge drinking. And because I've been going through this transitional phase in my life in my 40s, not feeling like myself, feeling like I've been abandoning myself and my actions weren't aligning with my mind and my goals or my money. I was losing money quick, like down to the point where I spent every single dollar I had went to my very last bill at the end of 2024, to the point where I'm literally starting everything from scratch. This YouTube channel, my businesses, making money, learning about myself, my relationship with God, learning about Jesus, reading the Bible, starting a brand new journal, like a new wardrobe. Like I'm going in from scratch. So starting over, when I say I'm starting over, I mean I'm starting over. That's not even an understatement. I'm literally starting everything. Everything in my life is starting from scratch. I would say more so starting from experience, but you get the idea. Like the last page of my journal ended at the end of the year. My bank account, I was like reselling things and putting stuff up for sale, and I'm pumped and I'm blessed and I'm grateful that I have this channel and this outlet to document this journey. If you have found this video, if you have found me, thank you so much. I hope that you subscribe and you join me on this journey, because it's not just like a 30-day challenge. It's not a 75-day hard. This is embodiment. This is my life. This is my lifestyle. This is the choice. These are the choices I'm making on a daily basis. And you're going to see me mess up. You're going to see me win. You're going to see me celebrate. You're going to see me down bad. And I'm just going to continue to trust God through this whole process and allow God to use me as a vessel, because at the end of the day, I hope and pray that I can uplift and encourage you to live your best life, whatever that means to you, just to unlock the best you. You know what I mean? And to not people please, and to not suppress your feelings or emotions, and learning how to articulate and communicate properly and maturely, which is something, as I've expressed here, is what I'm doing right now. So self-awareness, self-love, healing relationships from within and even without. So stay tuned for all of that. And just remember, we are in this together. And one thing I'm going to do is I'm going to keep learning. Life is a blessing, and trust the abundance. See ya.